Guys, shocking revelation. I mean, this will shock your conscience. You will be confused. You'll say, what do you mean? Israel, small nation. Is small being Israel? What are you talking about? Israel, greatest ally of the United States. Israel, greatest country on the planet.
Flashback.
The Pentagon sees growing espionage threat from Israel.
Bruh.
No way, dude. What? The Defense Department has increased the counterintelligence threat assessment to its highest level, and Israel is believed to have eavesdropped on American negotiations with Iran. You don't say. Israel has stepped up its efforts to eavesdrop on senior U.S. officials, including Steve Witkoff, President Trump's top negotiator, Elbridge Colby, the Pentagon's top policy official, and Mike Domino, the Pentagon's top Middle East official, per New York Times, citing new intel reports. A Defense Intelligence Agency report was drafted after incidents in which American defense personnel in Israel detected that software to tap their communications had been surreptitiously installed on their phones. No, you don't say. What? Guys, I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you. What? No. They would never do that. What do you mean? We better merge those militaries fast.
End of flashback.
Israel already has direct access into the Situation Room. Israel already gets to have direct conversations with Donald Trump after every fucking negotiation, every talk that takes place between America and Iran. And yet that's not enough. They want to also have, full-blown 24/7 surveillance. Pentagon is sounding the alarm over the increasing spying threat on American officials from Israel. Meanwhile, Congress is working to give Israel even more access to the U.S. military. Sick. This is good. This means that there's real ruptures, however, between the American side and the Israeli side, because let's be real, if the New York Crimes is reporting on this, that means the Pentagon wants this out there, okay? That means the State Department and the Pentagon are having a little bit of a problem with the amount of unprecedented access and influence Israel might have with the top of the government, okay? So read this as a sign that the voices that are critical of Israel are gaining a little bit more influence, or at least frustrated enough to leak this information to the New York Times to allow this to be reported. Recent U.S. intelligence reports have raised concerns about Israeli spy agencies eavesdropping on American negotiators working on a peace deal with Iran, amid rising concern over a more general counterintelligence threat by Israel. I assume Trump will probably say that's not true. They're not doing it. Or depending on what he says about this, depending on what his statement on this is, we can measure the temperature in the room between the Israeli side and the Trump administration. Because this is a known thing. This has always been the case, right? Israel is always spying on Americans and certainly Americans in power. That's not even remotely surprising. What's surprising is that the New York Times is writing about it. What that means that there's some people inside of the State Department or inside of Pentagon, depending on how they wrote about this, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's intelligence reports, so probably coming from the intelligence community that is leaking information on purpose to the New York Times. So the public knows about it, so that Trump gets questioned about it. This is a way for them to, this means, just like with Dan Cain initially before the Epstein Fury operation was launched, when Dan Cain couldn't make inroads with Trump directly in those rooms, he went to the media. There's no guarantee that this means Trump will actually, this doesn't mean that Trump is pissed off about this, for the record. It's entirely dependent on how Trump reacts to this that I will make an assessment on where the relationship is. Israel and the United States have long known and tolerated that each was spying on each other. But an intensified Israeli effort to learn about the U.S. positions and talks with Iran has crossed the line, according to some American officials. The reports include concerns that Israel has stepped up its efforts to eavesdropping on senior American officials, including Steve Witkoff, President Trump's top negotiator, Elbert J. Colby, the Pentagon's top policy official, and one of his main deputies, Michael P. Domino. Another report written by the Defense Intelligence Agency and other military intelligence offices and focused on earlier events going back several years said that the counterintelligence threat level posed by Israel had been increased in recent weeks to the top level from high to critical. The report, to which the Defense Counterintelligence Security Agency contributed, outlines various efforts by Israel to spy on American military personnel and government officials. By the way, what's really unsurprising for many of you, I hope, is the fact that it was already at the top level, or not the highest level, but it was already at high. Now it's at critical. It probably was critical always, but maybe they were getting the Israel grade, and they were reducing the critical nature of the Israeli espionage. But the very fact that it was already high, and yet American politicians were behaving like Israel is the most important ally that we have, should tell you something. The reports and the intensified concern about Israeli spying come at an especially sensitive time. Israel and the U.S. have been fighting the war against Iran together and have never had such close military coordination as they do now, with the Israeli military officers working side by side with their American counterparts at U.S. Central Command. The U.S. military is sharing huge amounts of tactical and operational information with its Israeli counterparts. But senior American officials said that Israel is looking for insights into Mr. Trump's strategy and shifting stances on the peace talks. The new warning could potentially complicate efforts to further integrate military war planning between U.S. Central Command and Israel, especially if the Pentagon makes a decision to place new restrictions on information shared with Israeli officers. There has already been tension between the two nations as Mr. Trump pursues a peace deal, even as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the real president of the United States of America and the leader of Israel, seeks to further degrade Iran's capabilities, weaken or topple its theocratic government, and assault Tehran's proxy in Lebanon, Hezbollah. The Defense Intelligence Agency report was drafted after incidents in which American defense personnel in Israel detected that software to tap their communications had been surreptitiously installed in their phones. Wow. The existence of Defense Intelligence Agency report and the increased threat level were reported earlier by NBC News. The Defense Department declined to comment. A White House official speaking on the condition their name not be used said the account was false. You don't say. Interesting. A spokesperson for the Israeli embassy in Washington also disputed claims that Israel poses a counterintelligence threat, saying that Israel does not spy on American officials or entities. The developments were described by several current and former U.S. officials speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive intelligence matters. They said that in some respects, the counterintelligence warning is no surprise. Israel has long engaged in aggressive intelligence collection operations against both its enemies and allies, as does the United States. Still, Israel's counterintelligence threat level is now higher than any other ally and higher than some adversarial countries. Of American allies, only South Korea, which is rated at high in certain situations, approaches the concern with Israel's espionage efforts, the officials said. The aggressiveness of the Israeli intelligence collection on top U.S. officials during the second Trump administration has been unhinged, one senior official said. Two senior U.S. Okay, so it's Pentagon and the State Department, by the way. That's crazy. So this leak is coming from Pentagon, from the Pentagon, the Department of War, Department of Defense, whatever you want to fucking call it, and also the State Department and the intelligence community. This is quite literally the entire American defense apparatus screaming, both internally and now also externally, about the way that things are going. And the only reason why this is happening, I suspect, is because Trump is just not listening to the warnings. He's just not listening at all. Because this information is a well-known secret, okay? It's not a secret at all. What? Oh, come on, dude. John Kiriakou? Stop. Stop. You guys are so fucking stupid. Okay. Oh my God. John Kiriakou, former USA CIA agent, said that Israel has always brought gifts filled with listening devices, is known for bugging conferences. Yes, I know. He also said the United States of America doesn't spy on Israel. Okay. Yeah, he went on Theo Von and said America doesn't spy on Israel. That's bullshit. That is ridiculous. Okay. Is he still ducking you? Yeah, he is. I don't know why. Two senior U.S. military officials said that American personnel, particularly those serving in Israel or with Israeli counterparts, were well aware of the counterintelligence risk before the new report. The officials, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal assessments, said the U.S. personnel employ a range of security procedures and protocols to help counter the threat and to protect their cell phones and other electronic devices, especially while traveling in Israel, but declined to describe those measures in detail for security reasons. Cooperation between the two militaries is very close, but each side also needs to keep its most sensitive information secret. At the U.S.-led Civil Military Coordination Center in Kiryat Gat, Israel, for instance, American and Israeli military and diplomatic personnel work side by side to enforce the Gaza ceasefire and to facilitate humanitarian efforts. But the building also has a U.S.-only floor and an Israel-only floor where personnel from each country can discuss the most sensitive topics. Sure. Yeah, the U.S.-only floor is definitely not bugged into oblivion, and so is the Israel-only floor. I believe that as much as I believe that they're enforcing a ceasefire. Well, I guess they're not trying that hard. The report says counterintelligence incidents began increasing in late 2024 as the Biden admin pressed Israel to curb its attacks on Gaza and continued in 2025 as the Trump administration weighed options to attack Iran. The report, which incorporated contributions from a number of military intelligence agencies, also details several episodes in recent years. In 2021, the Israeli military intelligence officers were caught planting listening devices at DIA headquarters. Last year, officers from Shin Bet, Israel's domestic intelligence agency, were discovered to have tried to plant a listening device in a Secret Service vehicle. While the DIA document does not explicitly... While the DIA document does not explicitly discuss the peace negotiations, other recent intelligence reports have raised concern about Israelis listening to Mr. Witkoff and other top negotiators as they try to reach a long-term agreement for a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. The tendency of some senior Trump administration officials to fly on private aircraft, to conduct national security business on their personal phones, and to reject staffing from U.S. embassies abroad made them especially vulnerable targets for the spy services of allies and adversaries alike, said a former U.S. official. The other current officials also acknowledged the use of personal cell phones by top American officials and made them easy targets for eavesdropping. The U.S. and Israel were largely aligned at the beginning of the Iran war, with Mr. Trump endorsing Mr. Netanyahu's long-sought goal to push the theocratic government from power, but their war aims quickly diverged as the United States focused more on trying to erode Iran's military capabilities to force concessions at the bargaining table, while Israel hoped the Iran hardline government would lose its grip on power. It is not entirely clear why Mr. Colby, who is in charge of Pentagon policy, would be a target. It's not. Which we're talking shit, take 30 minutes off. Why would you ever fucking send that to me? But he is one of the most prominent proponents inside the U.S. government of a restrained foreign policy. Mr. Domino is in charge of Pentagon policy for Middle East, making him a person of natural interest to Israel. Why the fuck are you reading New York Times articles when it's clear from a while, Graham Plattner articles, that this paper is completely biased? What do you mean? I read Fox News articles as well. It's important to fucking get insight into what is allowed in the paper of record, allowed to be reported. It's an American newspaper. It might be Zionist, but it's still an American newspaper. And this kind of article gives us fresh insight into where the State Department is, where the Pentagon is, as far as their relationship with Israel. By the way, they're doing this to Steve Witkoff, who's already sympathetic to Israel. They're doing this to administration figures who are already sympathetic to Israel, for the record. And they're doing it so that they're sympathetic appropriately. You know what I mean? Like, oh, God forbid you think out of line, you step out of line in these negotiations processes. Like, these are guys who are already fucking pro-Israel.
State.